just give everybody a little bit of time to come in, so probably start in about 2 minutes or so.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And you might have noticed we've both been going for a little bit of mustache growth here, so please excuse. Just supporting charity.
We're just going to give it a few minutes just to let more people join just before we kick off. But yeah, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning or good evening, depending on where you are in the world.
Well, I think that will be us starting now. So welcome to our second Atkins and Me event. My name is Erik, and I've recently completed my first year as a graduate mechanical engineer in the Aerospace, Defence, Security and Technology business unit. I've had a variety of roles to date, including stress analysis of composite structures, cost analysis, and my current role, which is centered around nuclear safety. The guest of honor today is Mark Goudie from the nuclear and power business. Mark first started at Atkins as part of the Power Academy initiative, where he undertook several summer internships. From there, he joined the company as a graduate in 2015 and has risen through the company to his current position as head of future networks. Mark, would you like to give us a brief introductory overview of your timeline at Atkins before we start the line of questions?
No, thanks very much, Erik, and hello, everyone. So that's the best succinct career description I've had yet, so I'll take it. Thank you. So yeah, I started with Atkins in 2012 when I was still an undergraduate studying electrical and mechanical engineering at the University of Strathclyde. And for me, I had a really kind of big career choice. Do I work in a town in Scotland called Cambuslang with an operator, or do I go to London to work for Atkins, a global consultancy that at the time was the engineering design partner for the Olympic Games? I went to London, so that's the kind of start of the career. I've kind of had a variety of roles across the business, a number of placements first. Joining as a graduate in 2015, I've worked in kind of future technologies, heat networks, kind of technical roles, business development roles, project management, operations and strategy, eventually leading to my current role, which is as the head of future networks in our nuclear and power division, very much looking at the future of the electricity system in the UK and the projects that are needed to help us meet our net zero carbon goals of the future. So that's a wee brief add-on there, Erik, with a bit more detail.
So we've heard a little bit about your professional background, but please tell us a little bit about yourself, perhaps on your interests outside of work.
Yep, thanks. So I think outside of work, I'm a keen reader. I love books. I love reading. So for me, it can be difficult in the work environment to read for pleasure after you've been reading reports all day, but it's something that I managed to maintain. Big rugby fan. Glad to see that the Six Nations went a bit better for the home team. I think I'm allowed to say I'm a Scotland football fan in the last 2 weeks after years of hopelessness. And at the end of the day, I'm a big cyclist, so I love my cycling as well. So that's kind of like my own hobbies and stuff that I really enjoy outside of work. But I'm also a big kind of engineering volunteer, so I do a lot of work for the Institution of Engineering and Technology in my own time, and I'm also a trustee of the Glasgow Science Centre. So if any of you visit, you can let me know.
So apart from the fact that you didn't fancy Cambuslang, what else attracted you to Atkins? What was the motivation behind joining, and why did you choose Atkins ahead of other companies?
So kind of go back to that very first choice of I'd kind of started, I did a year in industry before I went to university, and that was really just to let me see what engineering was like in a practical sense in the workplace. So I did that, and that was very operator focused. So that was managing assets, and what they wanted you to do was to be an expert on a system, was to really know that system in and out. And for me, that was fine, but I couldn't really see the longevity of that, of doing that for decades and just that. And when I was looking around, I discovered consultancy. It gives you that same technical development. It gives you the breadth to try project management, business operations, business development, to travel, to work for lots of different clients and lots of different projects. And for that, that was the appeal. And it was that variety and breadth. And I have to say, the ability to shape and direct your own career a lot more was something that really appealed to me for Atkins at that point in time.
No, I definitely agree. There's a lot of opportunity here, and it's a great place to shape a bit of breadth towards start your career. So I'd be a little bit more interested here about your experience working during the early parts of your career, in your internships and in your kind of beginning of your graduate scheme. So could you maybe talk a little bit about the day-to-day of what you did and what you were involved in?
Yeah, sure. So I think in my very first placement, there was 3 projects I was involved in. So for anyone in the southwest of England, I may have been involved in some of the substations and electrical infrastructure. So any issues with your lights blinkering, it's definitely not me. So that was my very first kind of big electrical infrastructure project. And moving on from that, I had 2 other major projects that I got a chance to get involved in. One was the King Abdulaziz International Airport that was in Saudi Arabia. Again, this massive airport that was being internationally designed by teams across Atkins, across the world. And for that, to put this like airport into context, it's got 1 terminal building, but that 1 terminal building is the same as all of the terminal buildings in Heathrow rolled up into one. So it's an enormous scale. And working from that international project, very much delivering kind of designs, drawings. I'm going to just say this now, is that coding macros in Excel and just Excel as a tool is part of your kind of engineering bread and butter. So get very comfortable with using that tool. But also as time went on, like kind of moving things into more of a coded landscape. So getting used to scripting in Python, using full use out of MATLAB, making best use out of MathCAD. So these are tools which are part of an engineer's toolbox in your day-to-day work, and getting good at just the very basic tools that you apply day-to-day, especially in the digital context of just now, is something that served me well and will definitely serve you well as you go through your career.
I definitely agree with that sentiment. So moving on from there, what are some of the kind of notable highlights and kind of most enjoyable moments of your career as in your transition to the head of future networks?
Yeah, so I think like I'll start with another highlight. I'll start with the highlight as to how I got. So started as a graduate engineer, day 1 in the office, got a tap on the shoulder by one of the directors. And for anyone that's new in an office, that's kind of like a chill down the spine. You think you've done something wrong, think your career's about to end just as it started. And for me, that was an opportunity. The director asked, is that, do you want to go and start this new team with me called Future Energies that's going to be looking at what the energy markets need, not right now, but in the future, and actually grow those capabilities, skills, and technologies that are needed. And that's where my career started with Atkins. So getting that opportunity to help shape something, to help develop something that was not only impactful for the UK, but across the world, is something that I'll never forget. And it's actually helped shape the engineer that I am today. Other highlights, I never expected I was going to be traveling up and down the UK so frequently. So getting very used to kind of long train journeys or that business flight. Again, a highlight was the very first kind of business flight that I took. Thought I was captain business. I had my suit on, my Financial Times under my arm. I had my wheelie case. I had my backpack with my laptop. Kind of strolling through the airport with my coffee. Went to the queue for the plane and realised that I had about 200 clones waiting in front of me, all in the same shades of blue, white, blue, and black. And although once you start traveling a lot internally within your home country, that can wear off after a while. When you get to travel internationally, every international bit of travel is kind of, I still get that same kind of giddy feeling like I'm a kid going on holiday, but I realise I'm actually going for work, but still the same level of excitement.
It's good to see you minus the Financial Times. You still dress like a consultant.
Yeah, just about. Nobody treats
But
working from home as a special occasion anymore, Eric.
so since joining Atkins, I found the culture to be extremely positive and genuinely enjoy collaborating with other graduates and subject matter experts. From your own point of view, what do you feel is the best part about working at Atkins?
A consultancy by nature is a people business. So we're built around the skills and capabilities in our staff. And for me, when I first started as an intern, not really fully understanding, I had ideas in my head about what consultancy was. Is it, a consultancy there to give you advice? They're an expert on their topic. And for me, once I actually arrived in Atkins, and I started asking people, people that had been in the business for 10, 20, 30 years, asking like, why have you been here so long? Like, what's kept you in the business? And the answer stayed the same. It was always the people, and it was the people that you work with. Our culture is very much represented in our staff, and that openness for development, for helping each other, for kind of developing these projects that can have a real impact on people and communities, both here and abroad. That feeling of all working towards a common goal and a common purpose really makes this a really nice place to work. I think it's the best way I can describe it. And the people are what make that culture come alive. And it's definitely the reason why I joined as a graduate, and I'm still here now.
I suppose as a consultancy, we aren't selling products. We are selling people and their skills. So you need to invest quite heavily in that. So kind of going from there, within my first year, I've taken the opportunity to get involved with some extracurricular activities that are on offer, namely the cost analysis and forecasting of the price to buy and own an electric vehicle over the next 10 to 15 years. During your time at Atkins, have there been any opportunities out with the kind of normal project work that you've taken part in and enjoyed, perhaps with any institutions or other departments?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that I got a chance to get involved with was the Institution of Engineering and Technology's Power Academy program. So this was the scholarship scheme that I actually joined Atkins through. So it kind of supports you through university. It pairs you up with a company. And that scheme needs to be managed. It needs to be developed. It needs to grow. When I joined as a graduate, I was able to start assisting with that program through to just now I'm the project director for that scheme. So I'm ultimately responsible for its strategic direction and some of the really high level meetings that go across very senior people across the power sector in the UK. So for me, being able to help shape and give back to the scheme that I ultimately joined Atkins through is something, alongside my day-to-day work, is something that I really enjoyed and I relish kind of day-to-day. So that's just one example. The other example, I think, just in terms of things to get involved in and things to go and do, there's committees, there's working groups, there's the young professional forums, both at an office level and a UK level, which can give you a lot of opportunities to not only meet people from different business units, but actually, a lot of our staff are working towards professional development. They're working towards chartership and building up these soft skills, being able to get involved in different lines of work is something that will really add to your personal development as you go forward.
So you mentioned professional development and chartership. How have Atkins supported you towards, because you recently became a chartered engineer?
Yes.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Cheers.
But how did Atkins support that?
So the Atkins gives you a framework ultimately to work to. It gives you, and this applies both to the graduate development program, but also for your own personal development on the route towards chartership. So it gives you this really flexible framework, which allows you to work to a common standard across your division, but also to be able to shape that towards your own career interests and your own development activities. When it comes to chartership, it's things like having your dedicated mentor, the frequency of your meetings, and a great thing that they do is they pay for your professional membership fees, which just means that there's one less thing to think about as you're working towards your kind of professional registration. So for me, having that dedicated mentor, having the opportunity to shape my work experience to the needs of what I believed a chartered engineer should do was something that you don't necessarily get in a lot of other companies, that you can't really quite quickly go from being in a very technical role to suddenly getting project management experience, to get line management experience, and working through the range of competencies that the Engineering Council prescribes against a chartered engineer. So I would say in one regard, it's the development framework that you get at the beginning, the mentorship and support that you get for kind of pursuing your chartership on day to day. But very much that onus is on you as an individual to push that forward. And then the last bit is having an organization with such opportunity and breadth that allows you to kind of pursue certain career choices, which make chartership not only achievable in a shorter time scale, but really beneficial for the next stages of your career.
No, it's definitely something that I'm hoping to work towards too, and get that breadth that Atkins offers. So to kind of bring it to more current times, clearly in the current climate of COVID, there's been an exceptional shift in the way that we've been working. So how do you keep yourself and your team motivated? And do you think there'll be any long-term implications of the working from home situation right now?
So COVID's kind of thrown the entire industry into kind of a state of adaptation, really trying to adjust to what we like to call this new normal. For me, it was kind of digital tools have enabled us all to stay connected, to continue to deliver the work that we need to deliver day to day for our clients and for the communities that we serve. And that tool, although it's an enabler and it helps to make it kind of facilitate your job, there's still people on either side of that digital tool. I mean, if you're students that have joined on the call, you probably will have noticed the same, that shift to kind of like a hybrid or a digital learning environment in some instances. And to maintain that personal contact, to maintain that motivation, it's actually down to the individuals involved. So you need to go and create the right structures which allow you to maintain that individual contact, to maintain that team feeling, to maintain that feeling that you're all working towards a common goal, because it can feel quite isolated if you're just one individual at the end of a laptop and you don't necessarily see where you fit in the big picture. So maintaining that personal contact, creating protected time, keeping as much as possible to the same working routine as you would in the office. It's very easy in a digital environment for your working routine to change. Doing these things and looking out for one another, that maintains your level of motivation, and it also makes sure that you avoid things like digital burnout. As we're an organization that's very big on mental health, we have a range of mental health first aiders. And just because you're not in the office doesn't mean that any of those challenges have went away. You just need to make sure that you maintain that individual contact.
Especially within the graduate community, has been key to kind of maintain those relationships and try and build, because that's the whole point of joining a new company, is to try and meet new people. So from our perspective as graduates, we've definitely tried to keep up drop-in sessions and just quite informal chats instead of it all being forced and over Skype and things like that.
Well, an example being is that in our Glasgow office, there's a great tool that's been deployed, which allows these kind of random coffee meetings to be generated across different people at different levels in the business. And again, that's just one example of someone being really proactive to go and make a positive change in the business to kind of try and maintain that personal contact between different individuals and to get to meet people, which is something which is a lot harder when you're not in the office.
Definitely agree. But so you're energy focused, and basically, what exciting developments do you foresee in energy and in particular future networks when it comes to meeting the government's net zero 2050 targets?
Well, 2050 is not that far away now. You're starting to see targets for fossil fuel vehicles that will occur in the next 10 years, bans on petrol and diesel vehicles. You're starting to see big investments in terms of offshore wind and a big shift in terms of at a domestic level, people wanting to purchase and plug electric vehicles into the electrical system, which needs sufficient capacity to be able to support it. So for me, our legislative targets, our legal targets, are net zero by 2050. And what the biggest changes I will see is the UK's energy system becoming a lot more active at the lowest level. So what does that mean? It means that closer to your home on your street is that the system will become a lot more complex, a lot more advanced, a lot more controllable. And that's in response to trying to maximize the capacity of the system that we already have, while at the same time allowing customers, individuals, bill payers to make individual choices that they see are right within the current environment. So whether that is to purchase and to be able to plug in an electric vehicle, whether that is being able to choose to install an air source heat pump in replacement of your gas boiler, and being able to make individual decarbonisation choices and the role of the energy system as an enabler for that. You'll see some interesting shifts in terms of the preparation for the gas network to potentially convert to hydrogen. People forget that in the 60s and 70s, a large percentage of UK gas was hydrogen. We used to use a thing called Towns gas that came from coal mining. Up to 40% of that was hydrogen. Then we moved to North Sea gas, which was 99.9% methane. So again, we converted all properties in the UK to run with a different gas type. We may have to do the same to kind of run with decarbonised gas. So for me, with an energy perspective, it's the decarbonisation of transport is going to put a big demand on the electrical system. The decarbonisation of heat is going to be split between the electrical system and the challenges to decarbonise the gas system. Industry is going to need to decarbonise to kind of remove carbon from the processes and to, in some instances, kind of store that carbon under a process called carbon capture and utilisation and storage, which you're starting to see UK programmes to promote. So all of these, the 2050 target is such a big thing that not any one technology is able to solve this, but there's a plethora of systems and tool sets that need to be deployed if we're to become a net zero carbon country. And we were the first member of the G8 really to commit to a net zero carbon target, and we now need to make that a reality, not just for ourselves, but for the generations that follow.
So clearly you're extremely passionate about net zero, which is good to see. But from your point of view, it must be great to be involved at a company that helps drive and push towards net zero targets and have their own sustainability goals and net zero goals internally as well. I can speak from on the behalf of our business unit, where basically there's opportunity to suggest ways that the company can reduce their carbon footprint, and it's definitely something that people do get on board with. So I'm conscious we're getting up to question time, but one more question. So basically, considering the vast majority of the audience are probably quite keen to gain an insight into how to stand out in an application, what are the top 3 things that you'd look for in a candidate?
Okay, so I'm going to take a second just to reflect on that one. The things that I typically look for, and I'll talk for myself here, is that we've got corporate values. So one is that the corporate values align very much to the people that work in this business. So again, make sure you understand those corporate values and how they apply. The second one is understand that what is a consultant? And if you can understand what a consultant is, then you can start to kind of shape your application towards those types of skill sets. So it's things like being proactive, a self-starter, being able to adapt to change, being flexible in terms of the assignments and the type of work that you do, but also being committed to your particular line of work. And it's the idea that you want to continue to develop and grow with a view to kind of pursuing your professional registration. So I think for those 2 points, in terms of just, make sure you understand the business that you're applying to, the values that it holds and the systems it has in place. Second one is some of the skill sets and activities that relate to a consultant. And I guess for me is the third one is let your passion show through. Let your passion for your subject, your interests in this particular area of work. Think about how you demonstrate that, because once all's equal, that's one of the opportunities to really differentiate yourselves from others.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there, Mark. But basically, that's us now opening up for questions. So if anybody has anything, please ask away to either myself or Mark. More likely Mark.
I think you're closer to the graduate scheme than me, Eric, so you might have some insights as well. I think a really good point, just some of our Atkins colleagues that have responded on the kind of the chat function there, is you've got the applications are open, you've got the opportunity to pursue it, and again, very kindly repeating is that as part of our values represent our culture. So again, just reflecting on that as part of your response.
So we do. So wondering, as a graduate, if you can get the chance to work on big projects or even globally, I think your experience, Mark, to me shows that it's definitely the case. From my own personal experience, I'll quickly jump in before you you've got your story. But basically, my first major project was comment to Babcock, and I'd commute from Glasgow to Plymouth every week. And Plymouth is a surprisingly nice part of the country, so it was wonderful going and see there, and it was great to work on site, and you meet a lot of people and get experience that you wouldn't normally get. So from my perspective, I've definitely had that opportunity. And Mark, I'm sure you've definitely seen and heard of.
Yeah. So I think for me, definitely you can get involved, and I think there's an element in being proactive and seeking them out. So this is something I've been quite lucky, in which case a lot of these projects have came to me. I've been in the right place at the right time, and I've been able to get involved in huge projects, but also projects which occur internationally. At the same time, I think it's being proactive and seeking them out. If that's something that you really want to achieve, you want something you want to get involved in, then be proactive in seeking it out. And the good thing about this business is that if you can put together a good business case, a good reason, then you can get involved in lots of initiatives and lots of projects, even outside your own business area.
No, I could definitely agree with that. And I've definitely heard of people going to Switzerland and France and places like that, and secondment. Is there any other questions, perhaps?
Do you want me to take that one, Eric, for a starter?
I think you definitely should.
Looking at it. So, it's a good question, is why should someone join Atkins over your core competitors? So again, there's, when you get into the consultancy landscape, there is no direct comparison between one consultancy and another. We are all large organizations with extraordinary capabilities, and we work collaboratively in a lot of senses. So you tend to find that we work in joint ventures across different projects. For me, it's about your level of interest and the opportunity to work in different areas. For me, it's Atkins, it's the breadth. You've got Atkins, you've got Faithful and Gould, you've got the division that Erik is in, aerospace, security, defence and technology. We've got infrastructure, we've got transportation, and that's just within the UK. We've got our European entities, our global entities. So if you were to ask me why choose Atkins over one of our core competitors, one, it's ultimately the people and the culture that we have as an organization. The second point is ultimately that breadth of opportunity, is that there's very few organizations that are as successful across as many business areas as we are, and it gives you that opportunity to vary your career based on your own business interest.
No, I definitely have to agree there. Even within our small business unit of aerospace and defence, there's a lot of different opportunity that isn't always offered by the other consultancies, but again, they might have some that we don't.
I think I'll roll back to a previous question. I think I got one on how long did it take me to get chartered, just in case anyone's... I submitted my application after 4 years and I was chartered just before my 5th year, just in case anyone's interested.
Do we have...
I preempted it. That was it. It came up.
Yeah.
Do you want me to dive into this one, Erik, just for the...
Yeah, if you...
So for me, it's yes, you do need to be proactive. I've kind of said it a couple of times, being a self-starter, being proactive. And that allows you to pursue opportunities, allows you to create opportunity, which is something that I firmly believe in. But at the same time, your own experience, skills will open doors that you maybe aren't aware are there. So in terms of the capability matrices that we have, being able to, your CV, all of these things together can create opportunity for you. So I think it's both that you need, you can be proactive in creating opportunity for yourself in this organization, but at the same time, that development, skills, experiences that you develop as a person, and that individual reputation that you can develop in just doing good work can help shape the opportunities that you receive in future.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a mix of the two of them. A lot of the opportunities that you might not expect come through proactiveness. However, if your skills and experience directly align with opportunities, obviously people will come out and hunt you down. So yeah, there's definitely a mix there. Any others? If that's the last question, basically a final note. Thank you very much, Mark, for your time. It's been very insightful, not only to myself, but I'm sure to the wider audience. But in terms of opportunities at Atkins, all of our early careers opportunities are now live. So please visit our early careers website to research and apply. We've already received a large number of applications, so please don't miss out. Our closing date is the 11th of December. And our next live event is an Explored series from the ADS&T business unit, our Aerospace Defence Security and Technology, working on COBM KC46 on Tuesday, the 25th of November, which is next Tuesday. You can schedule a reminder for this on our digital campus page online. So thank you again, Mark, and I hope everyone listening got something out of it. I thoroughly enjoyed myself.
So thank you, everyone. Take care, stay safe, and good luck with your applications.
Absolutely. Best of luck to all.
Thank you. Bye.